often you'd have students attacking other students violently in class, and we had certain protocols we would go through when that would happen. And the police would come over and remove the students forcibly. A lot of times, though, the students would start spitting at the police. So the police would have to restrain the students and put a spit guard on them, which is sort of a mesh mask. And needless to say, to have to watch something like that happen as a teacher is pretty disturbing.
Did the administration do anything to try to make teaching easier?
They tried to implement some very, very superficial programs to try and control things, but the reality is the situation is so malignant, it's so out of control. There was really very little which could be done about it short of just completely overhauling the system.
Did the budget ever make it hard to teach?
No, that is one of the big myths I'd like to debunk. Funding in inner city schools is not why inner city schools can't teach. There is more than enough funding there. Unfortunately, that funding isn't routed toward the areas where it's to provide better education to the students. It's routed into things like televisions, computers, projectors, smart boards. It's not routed into making sure that students are in their seats, focused, the classrooms are free of graffiti, that students have enough learning materials. It's all sort of superficial.
Did you ever notice poverty affecting the classroom?
It did, absolutely. A lot of students, unfortunately, live very itinerant lifestyles with their parents. They were living, not in homes or even apartments, which were set. A lot of them lived from hotel to hotel, or some of them even out of their cars. So, one of the sadder incidents I remember is having to take a kid at lunch and show him how to do his laundry in the sixth science room. It's definitely one of the ways in which poverty can really affect the students there.
You said you worked at a charter school afterwards. Did you notice a very big difference?
There was a difference. The population at the charter school where I worked, even though the charter school was operating under the auspices of LAUSD, the population was very different in Huntington Park than it was in the Crenshaw, the Moat Park area where Crenshaw is. I would say the charter school was a huge advantage in the sense that they were able to take the best students out of the local public school feeders and address those kids' learning needs. So we really got the best of the best. Now, with that being said, there were a lot of challenges. There were a lot of adversities at the charter school, but they were by no means as severe as they were at Crenshaw.
Do you think an increase in the number of charter schools in LAUSD would help the education system in general? I'm
not sure. I mean, right now, like I say, the charter schools serve as magnets for the best students within these decaying LAUSD public schools. So if you just create every school as a charter school, well, then where do you put the incorrigible cases? Right now they're just the regular LAUSD schools, and the best students are going into the charters. But if everything's charter, then there's really no way to kind of corral the bad crowd.
Popping bottles in
the ice, all right,
like a blizzard.
Okay.
When we drink, we do it right. Getting slizzard, sipping scissor. Am I right? Like 3-6. Now I'm feeling so fly, like a G6. Like a G6. Like a G6.
All right, Noah. So what are some differences between Milton and Hamilton in your opinion?
Okay, so the overall learning environment in Hamilton is not quite the same as Milton, because at Milton, people, even if it's not for the right reasons, people are really invested and people want to succeed, whatever that means. In Milton's case, we know what it means: grades, okay, college, future, anyways. But at Hamilton, you have those people who stand outside the wood shop and smoke weed. I mean, we have those people, and they're in my classes. And so once you sort of venture outside of the magnet part, which is a pretty sizable chunk of maybe the 3,000 kids at Hamilton, but once you get outside of that, you've got not an exclusively, you've got a population that's not exclusively not caring about anything, but a vast majority of people who are just disruptive, immature, and these are the people that later in life, I don't know where they'll be. I mean, making me coffee. I don't.
So Noah, you're talking about how you're in one of the magnets.
I did say that, yeah.
What's the difference between your classes in the magnet and the classes that aren't?
God, huge difference. So I'm in music magnet because I'm super talented, pretty much a prodigy. Anyways, so a music class is limited in size, and also the people themselves are just, they're doing something that they actually really enjoy. Music for a lot of these kids is the most important thing. But also, you know, they're at least a little bit invested, and they're not there purely to antagonize the system and to, you know, they're not just there because truancy, your first offense is $1,000 for skipping school. That's not the only reason that they showed up to class, which is it's a nice difference from being in a regular class with twice as many people sometimes, and maybe half the effort.
So do you think the size of Hamilton really discourages learning and makes it harder?
I mean, the thing is that the public school system itself, you know, there's, in LAUSD, which is, you know, there's a huge density of people, and so there's no way that you can avoid overcrowding. You know, it's difficult to avoid that situation in such a dense urban area like Los Angeles.
So have you noticed a real difference between the teachers at Hamilton?
Well, I mean, being a teacher in general means that you have a lot of patience and a lot of tolerance for kids, but I mean, at Milken, really, let's be honest, you know, there's no back talk to teachers, really. At Hamilton, it surprises me sometimes. Like, I don't want to come across as really naive, but, you know, there are people who will say things to teachers that I would only say to someone I don't respect, like my parents.
Alright, well, have you noticed any budgetary effects on your school?
Okay. Let me put it this way. You can't see all of campus right now. You can only see the beautiful part of campus. But there's a reason that none of this will ever get picked up. And that's that for a massive campus of more than 3,000 people, we have 2 janitors. And the trash breaks down.
So Noah, have you noticed any misappropriation of funds in Hamilton?
I mean, if we had any funds to misappropriate, I'm sure we would. But the administration here is actually on top of things to some extent, at least. So I haven't noticed anything. That doesn't mean there is none, because I'm not the most knowledgeable person at school. I mean, I am the smartest person.
Alright, so thanks for having us.
This is my teacher. So, anyways, we're done. We're done. Great.
Check out the hooks. Alright, stop. Alright, stop. Alright, stop. Alright, stop. Collaborate and listen. Ice is back with a brand new invention. Something grabs a hold of me tightly. Flow like a harpoon daily and nightly. Will it ever stop? Yo, I don't know. Turn off the lights, and I'll glow. To the extreme, I rock a mic like a vandal. Light up a stage and wax a chump like a candle. Dance, rush a speaker.